Hello, and welcome to Stefoodle. I am, aquatically, Steph. And there's a project that I have had stuck in my brain for a couple of years now, but I've been too intimidated by the massive undertaking it would be. But it's perfect for Mermay. So I did the only sensible thing and harangued a bunch of other doll artists into joining a collab with me, so I had to make the doll once and for all. And it's not just any Mermay collab. This is an unconventional Mermay collab, so no standard mermaids allowed. And everyone made such amazing, creative, beautiful dolls. So when you're done with this video, be sure to go and watch the other videos in this collab from the Hatter Dolls, Kyro's Workshop, JackyOhhh, Enchanterium, and Harley's Dollhouse. Now let's just dive into it, shall we? You might remember this guy from Frey's video, in which I stole his knees. I told you he'd be back. He was intended for this project all along. I'm going to be making him into an Ichthyocentaur, which is like a mer-centaur. I start by removing his head before breaking out the power tools. As is always the case in these situations, use proper safety gear and be an adult. And according to my analytics, all of you are over 18, so that part should be easy for you. With my Dremel and various bits, I carefully remove the remnants of his legs and drill several holes that I'll be threading wire through later. I also attempted to sand off his sculpted undies too, but I ended up just doing it by hand in the end. I also went ahead and sanded the rest of his body to prep it for blushing. Going back to the head, I do all the usual prep work, removing his hair and factory paint to give myself a blank canvas. I also cut off his ears as I'll be making some ear fins later. Then I sprayed the head with a couple of layers of Mr. Super Clear UV cut flat, waiting 30 minutes in between each layer, and got to work on the face up. I start by mapping out his eye shape, as I want to draw them outside the mold a bit, making them larger and a bit droopy. Then I apply the first of many layers of micropearl PearlEx powder, which will help give him a fish-like sheen. Whenever I want to save my progress or I can't build any more color, I give the head another spray of MSC. I use chalk pastel to add blushing in purple, blue, and green, building it up over the course of many layers. I've really loved using metallic pencils in the eyes of my customs lately. It really seems to pop and give them more dimension. I also used some acrylic paint on this face up, which is a bit of a rarity for me, but I'm glad I did. It helped punch up the colors and bring out the contrast a bit better, especially in those blacks and whites. Now it seems like my camera doesn't want you to know what the final steps look like, as this whole bit of footage was blurry. The only thing in focus was like a paint lid cap and my paint water. It was terrible. But this is when I defined the pupils and lashes and added highlights and catch lights, finishing off with the dusting of macropearl PearlEx powder. You'll see the final results a little later on. For now though, the body blush. I start by layering on micropearl PearlEx powder and then move on to adding the same pastels I used in the face up, and again finishing with macropearl PearlEx powder. What can I say? He's a sparkly boy. I had to raise my camera up as high as I can get it, and it's still going to be difficult to film this part, which is the part I'm most afraid of. I'll be building the rest of his body art doll style. I was originally going to use part of this articulated Barbie horse, but the joints weren't as flexible as I'd like, hence going the art doll route. But I will be using it as a reference for scale, alongside looking at photos of horse skeletons for structure. The first thing I need to do is make some hooves. I'll be using polymer clay for this. After conditioning the clay, I cut it into 2 roughly equal pieces and shape them into hooves, each with a dent in the top so I have somewhere to attach the wire armature. Now I just need to go bake these. And they're done! Now the wire. I used 14 gauge galvanized steel wire for this. I thread 2 different lengths of wire through the body. One for the legs, the rest for the tail. I did most of this off camera as it was a bit unwieldy because these were very long pieces of wire. I also added some copper wire at the base of the tail for extra security. I can't remember what gauge that is, but it's pretty thin. To make sure nothing actually shifts while I'm working, I reinforced everything with hot glue. The true hero of this custom. After some shaping and twisting, here's where we are. Now I'll attach the hooves with, wait for it, more hot glue. This is the good stuff though. It really holds stuff in place. Those aren't going anywhere. I need to fill in these spaces where the upper thighs used to be, and I think this styrofoam ball will do the trick. Just needs some editing magic and it's cut into the perfect shapes, which I will go ahead and glue in place. I've now added some of the fin armature. He's so big. I can't even fit him in frame now. Now I start wrapping the armature with quilt batting that I've cut into strips to fill out the shape. While I'm doing that, I also want to say that KP Creations videos have been an invaluable resource for this custom, so thank you, Karen. Like, truly, thank you. I've been a fan since her Krampus art doll, and she creates such magical creatures, and her videos are a joy to watch. Once that's done, I make paper templates for the fins and cut them out of black faux leather. I sew them together off screen, wrong sides together. For the tail, I slip the wires inside and anchor them with more lines of stitching. For the back fin, I created a couple of extra armature pieces. I use the fin as a guide to mark where they will go and cut into the batting to make a pocket to glue the wire into. Then I repeat the same steps I did for the tail. I'll be covering the body with this purple crushed velvet. I cut a piece roughly to the right size. I'll be seaming it up the back, so I'll need to cut holes for the legs for now, as I'll be covering them separately. I use a ladder stitch here since the fabric is so thin. When I get to the back fin, I just pass the needle through it between each stitch, securing it in place. I cut the front section to fit and sewed that up too. I cut smaller pieces for the legs and sew them up the same way as the body, adding the small fin along the way. I attach the leg fabric to the body fabric using a ladder stitch as well. To attach the side fins, I cut a hole in the fabric and made a cavity in the stuffing and glued them in. To cover where the body fabric meets the tail, I sewed some black sequins onto a scrap of faux leather and glued it around the base of the tail. Then I began the arduous task of sewing on loads of sequins by hand, one by one. Truly, I am a masochist. Thankfully, I decided to only do a strip up the back and not the whole thing, but it still took about 3 days. I used a mixture of plain black sequins and color shifting black AB sequins, and it looks so good. I do not regret it at all. I almost forgot about his ears. Here's the paper template I made. I traced it onto bits of warbler and heated them up to make them flexible and sticky. Then I sandwiched sewing pins between the two pieces and then cut out the shape. Once cooled, the plastic is hard again and I can paint them. I give them a base layer with black acrylic paint and add detail with dragonfly glaze. I finish them off with a layer of gloss varnish. While I'm at it, I painted dragonfly glaze on the hooves and glossed them as well. Then I added a gradient with dragonfly glaze to the fins to make them extra pretty. I made these black and purple wefts off camera. I also painted his scalp black too, off camera as well at some point. I don't remember when. And now I'm going to go glue on all the wefts off camera, BRB. And here he is! I also added a few strands of this frond fiber, but I used an alcohol marker to darken the color a bit. And you can see his face properly now. Isn't that nice? I warmed the head up with my hairdryer again and popped it back on. After poking his ears into his head, he's finally done. So, in Greek mythology, there are 2 Ichthyocentaurs that are gods, as far as I'm aware from my minimal research. Aphros, the personification of sea foam, and Bythos, the personification of the abyss. And with his black and purple color scheme and moody expression, I'd say the name Bythos suits him pretty well. After wanting to make him for so long, I can't believe he's finally done. Bythos certainly didn't turn out exactly as I imagined, considering I changed my mind a billion times over about how I wanted to make him. But honestly, I think he's turned out to be one of my best creations to date. He's also the largest by far. About 2 feet long, I think, when he's stretched out, maybe a bit longer, I'm not sure, but he's a big boy. What do you think of Bythos? Should I torture myself further and make an Aphros to go with him? Would you like to see me make a full art doll? Because that sounds like it might be a fun project. Also, what is your favorite weird sea creature, either fantastical, mythological, or real? There are a lot of weird sea creatures out there, so let me know what your favorite is. Leave a comment down below. Tell me. I like seeing weird animals. Please, please, please go and watch all of the other videos in this collab. Everyone did an absolutely fantastic job, and we have such a unique array of characters. And I'm so grateful they all joined me for this journey, as I may not have gotten around to making Bythos otherwise. So massive thanks go to the Hatter Dolls, Kyro's Workshop, JackyOhhh, Enchanterium, and Harley's Dollhouse. I had an absolute blast working with you all. And if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and click the bell icon to get notified every time I post a new video. Links to all my socials will be in the description down below. I'm most active over on Instagram, so if you want sneak peeks or just to see what my weird brain is doing, head over there. And if you like what I do and you want to buy me a coffee, there's a link to my Ko-fi tip jar down there too. And until next time, which will be sooner than you expect, bye!